today on Keto Corner, I'm going to talk about 3 more things that will help you to ease into a ketogenic lifestyle. So today I want to talk about who can help you with your ketogenic diet, who can help you with your health, all right? Number 2, I want to talk about your personal carbohydrate threshold. Number 3, I want to talk about applying the 80-20 principle at this point in the journey. Okay, so number 1, last week I talked about conventional medicine, right? I talked about how amazing doctors and nurses are at monitoring and stabilizing the body, how they save lives when we get into situations of trauma. And this is amazing and something to be very, very grateful for. I also talked about the limitation and how within conventional medicine, when you present symptoms to a doctor, the treatment plan is a pharmaceutical treatment plan, and it's a plan that's going to address those symptoms that you're presenting. Okay, it does not look at root cause. Well, then it sort of begs the question, if you're interested in finding out what the root cause is, what do? Well, there's another arm of medicine that has become quite popular. It's called functional medicine. It means exactly what it says. So it is an area within medicine in which medical professionals are looking at the way the body functions and trying to understand the root cause of what's happening at any given time. So there is also the Functional Medicine Institute here in America, and this is an institute that provides certification to medical professionals who want to be certified in this manner, to work with patients in this manner on root causes. And so this could be medical doctors going back for this certification. It could be internal medicine doctors, family physicians, doctors of osteopathic medicine, you know, a wide variety. Any kind of doctor could go back, and nurse practitioners could go back and get this certification in functional medicine. And there is a way to find out what functional medicine certified physicians might be near you. So I'm going to put a link in the notes on that. So you can just put in your zip code, and a list of doctors and nurses that have received this certification will come up, and then you can search them. So I did this here in Pittsburgh, and I, though, was looking for a functional medicine doctor who had experience with the ketogenic lifestyle and fasting, someone who uses that in their practice. And so I found a keto cardiologist, and I found a keto oncologist, and I found a keto doctor of osteopathic medicine who I visited once. So I can't really say, you know, too much at this point. But there is this whole other sort of arm of medicine. And the Cleveland Clinic has set up, and I believe it was in 2015, set up an arm of functional medicine, a clinic there. And when I read an article, I want to say it was about a year ago, they had a 3-year waiting list. So it is really a big deal. People want to know what the root cause is of their situation, and they want to treat that. So I really think this is the future of medicine. It's a huge bright spot. So I wanted to say that, and so look for that in the show notes if you're interested. And then number 2, I want to talk about your personal carbohydrate threshold. What I'm really talking about here is insulin resistance. But I find that people kind of like blank out when you talk about insulin resistance. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like it goes in one ear and it sort of like goes out the other. It just doesn't seem to stick. So I'm going to try to talk about it in more practical terms. And see if that might be helpful. I will leave in the notes a video that would kind of go into more depth on it so that you can also listen to that as well. But I want to talk about today is a threshold that everyone has in terms of carbohydrates. So number one, I just want to say, I've heard many doctors say that there is a percentage of the population that can live successfully and happily on a higher carbohydrate diet. And I've heard anywhere from 10% of the population can do this to 25. So I'll just state it like that, that 10 to 25% of the population can actually thrive on a higher carbohydrate diet. And there are 3 signs that someone might be able to do that. So the first sign would be, so you're eating a high carbohydrate diet and you don't have any metabolic syndrome issues. So you have no symptoms. You're symptom free. Number 2 would be that you have normal body weight. So you fall in the parameters of normal for your height and your gender. And you also do not have a protruding abdomen, which can often sort of set off the sign of fatty liver disease. And there is a such thing as skinny fat. So someone can be very thin and have a protruding abdomen, and so that wouldn't work. So there's that. And then the third sign is that an individual is eating a higher carbohydrate diet and thriving in their mental health. So in other words, they're not experiencing anxiety, they're not experiencing any depression or any other areas, ADHD, those kinds of things within mental health. So there is this population that can thrive on a higher carbohydrate diet. But we all have a carbohydrate sort of ceiling or threshold is the way I like to think of it. So if you think about your blood and homeostasis of the blood. So within the blood, you need a balanced amount of sodium, right? And you need healthy fats, right? And you need 1 teaspoon of glucose. That's homeostasis in the blood. So when you consider that Americans are averaging 31 teaspoons of sugar consumption on a daily basis, you can see how insulin resistance can get stirred up and stirred into process. Right. So homeostasis, though, is 1 teaspoon of glucose in the body. So, and what happens is, so say you're at homeostasis, things are looking good, and you have kind of this buffer area where you have carbohydrates and your body's able to deal with them fine, and bring it back down to homeostasis. Okay, so, but as you consume more and more carbohydrates, you get above this threshold. Okay, you start eating more than your body can handle. So let's imagine you have homeostasis, and I'm little Lynn, five-year-old Lynn, who loves candy bars. Okay, so I have a candy bar, and that candy bar is going to spike up my glucose. So now I don't have 1 teaspoon of glucose in my blood. I have a lot more, and that sort of sets off an emergency. So what happens is then insulin spikes up. Okay, and insulin is going to try to drive that glucose back down to a balanced level, back down to homeostasis. So the first thing it's going to do is put some of that glucose into my muscle storage. And it'll do as much as it can of that, but there's a limited amount. So with excess glucose, we know that insulin is the fat-storing hormone. So it's going to start storing fat. Fat cells are going to get bigger because it's going to start storing that excess in fat. And so so you can imagine that's just 1 candy bar with little Lynn, whose organs and cells were working fine. But then you think about a whole lifetime, years and years of candy bars and chips and breads and pastas. So I'm talking mostly about grains and sugars for these carbohydrates. And so we're playing this game of spiking glucose, spiking insulin, trying to bring, storing fat. And what happens is homeostasis finally gives out. Okay, and then we could be in a situation, we are in the situation of insulin resistance, possibly pre-diabetic, possibly diabetic. So then we have a cellular problem, see, because then the cells are starting to shut down, okay? They can't handle it anymore. And when they shut down to the excess insulin, they're also shutting down to nutrients. So now you have cells that are nutrient deficient. So this really sets all kinds of stuff into motion. The metabolic syndrome issues that we are seeing today in our society. So this is what I'm talking about when I say you have a carbohydrate threshold. Your body works very diligently trying to bring homeostasis, your body back into homeostasis when too many carbs have come into the system. It has this protection, but even that can only go for so long. And see, this is what happens. So here I am, I'm 48, and I've had candy bars and bread and pasta and whatever else I've had. I've lived above my threshold for dealing, very proficiently, effectively, and efficiently with carbs. Okay, I lived above that, and I did damage to my body. So I come into like 48, 49 years old, and I am gaining weight, and I'm not able to do anything about it. The little tricks that I would do before are not working, and I'm noticing other things that I've said in other videos, whether it's my hearing or my sight or my brain fog, all these symptoms. Okay, so this is kind of what happens, is that we have, and this is a little bit different for everyone, and so this is what you want to try to find out, is where is your threshold? And consider the fact that you may have been eating above your carbohydrate threshold for quite a while, and where are you right now? And what I love about the ketogenic way of eating is it pretty quickly can help you get back to homeostasis. Because you're going to bring sugar way down. And you can start stabilizing the blood, which is going to start stabilizing the cells, and it's just going to, bring a lot of stability to the body. And this is an amazing thing. So I absolutely love talking about this because it has the possibility of so much benefit, which I've talked about in other videos. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up and get you starting to think about, when you look at food and you think about your health, that you have this threshold. You have this carbohydrate threshold that really is going to affect your cells. It's going to affect your organs, and has a big impact. And how keto can really help you with that, and really rather quickly. So it's pretty amazing. The last thing I want to talk about today is, at this point, so we're in week 3, applying the 80-20 principle. Now, I tend to be a little bit anal, so I have to admit I'm more like 90-10, but I want to bring this up because it's a very good principle. Nobody's perfect. That's the first thing I want to say. No one is perfect. We live in the world we live in. We want to celebrate, things that need to be celebrated, So anyway, the idea is, for this 3rd week, is to eat all keto meals. And I've already talked about trying to have that first meal of the day be predominantly protein, because it just helps you to avoid cravings. It sets you up for a good day. So now what I'm suggesting is that Monday through Friday, you hit the keto road pretty hard. You're eating from your food list. You're making meals from your recipe book that you're working on, or a keto recipe book that you've purchased. And Monday through Friday, you're being really diligent. And then on the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, you relax a little bit. Now, I wouldn't suggest going way off the rails. It'll just be harder to get back on, and you'll lose some of the benefit that you've achieved in that Monday through Friday. So you don't want to go hog wild, but you can certainly relax. There's some room for that, to do that. So, so I just want to, so with that, you just want to make sure that you have happy keto foods in your refrigerator, that you have some in your pantry. Never throw out good keto leftovers. Those can be your friend and help you in a pinch, So there's that. I just wanted to mention this principle and try this for week number 3, and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to leave. I had mentioned the websites that have a ton of recipes before last week. Well, there are 11 websites that I put in last week's video. I'm going to put those again down in the notes of this video. There are so many recipes. It's very, very exciting to begin looking at these and maybe creating your own recipe book. So that's it. If you have any questions, you can leave those down below the notes of this video, and I would be happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching today and hanging out with me and considering ketogenic lifestyle and how it might really help you to achieve your health goals. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!